into the CHGO White Sox podcast, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app today and use promo code CHGO when you sign up. Welcome into our West Loop offices here in the... Where the hell are we? Welcome to
Chicago, Illinois.
In our West Loop offices in downtown Chicago. I'm Sean Anderson. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. I am the host of the CHGO White Sox podcast. Alongside me is Vinnie Duber. He's our CHGO White Sox beat writer.
I've got tweets to do. I'm sorry.
He's got tweets to do. You can follow him on Twitter at Vinnie Duber to see what he's tweeting out about. I think it's 11 young Venezuelan teenagers that he's tweeting out about.
That sounded really bad.
Any other wording would have been better there.
Sounded so bad.
It's
not inaccurate, but it was poorly phrased.
Or perfectly phrased. Still factual.
Go to his Twitter and see what he's talking about.
Mercy.
Wow.
That's Herb Lawrence.
Hello.
You can follow him on Twitter at Ecknerwall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. Producing us today is Stephen Nicholas, and we got a loaded show for you. I didn't think it was going to be that loaded when we sent out the text at 11:30. I'm like, what are you guys interested in? Here's a Braves pitcher talking about music. Does that interest you guys? And no hits, no responses.
I watched it. It was way too involved. I'm like, how do you do things other than this? Man, Spencer, whatever, Strider has way too much time on his hand. Him and his friend are just evil geniuses. And then he's a top-notch pitcher. Wow.
I guarantee I could do an even nerdier video about music than he put together.
Should.
But I don't know anything about the Strokes, so I couldn't comment on that.
I think you'd
That's
like
an
them.
upset.
They have. There's one song of theirs I know, and it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
Last Night, that's a fine song.
Yeah, there's more. I mean, you'd like them, I think.
I just got to give it a chance.
Yeah, listen to their latest album. I think you'll like it.
That's usually not a ringing endorsement of a band's caliber.
It's either their first album, but like I think they're an interesting band just because they've been young and like they've taken a lot of different times off. So I think this recent album, it's their sixth album and their first one off RCA Records. And when they left RCA for their fifth album, they
sounds
were
like he could be on Spencer Strider's show.
I watched the video.
Damn straight.
I see.
But they were all pissed off at RCA, so then they kind of took a year break, or some breaks, and then kind of re-energized, took a shot at making another album, and it's very good. It's more mature. It's kind of it's an adult version of what they've been doing. It's great. Anyways, but Spencer Strider has like a whole like rating system. Like they have a spreadsheet
Google
that
Docs.
and it's like chopped where it's like you get X points on presentation and lyrics and music. Like it is dorky.
That's
like there's
cool.
equations.
Because my wife she makes fun of me constantly for having about 85 different Google Docs where I'm ranking albums by artist, by year, by the number of plays. It's just
Is it by plays?
Huh?
Is it by playability you're ranking these records?
No, the number of times I've listened to them.
Okay, so like on Last FM.
Yes.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're keeping a tally. You got like an abacus. Like I listen to.
Well, at times. So you have to dig through. So not to get too far in the weeds here,
Hey, man,
folks,
we want it.
But Last FM, and this is more so Spotify's fault than Last FM, the whole deluxe edition, anniversary edition, remastered 2007 versus remastered 2014. It drives me crazy. Just put it all under one album name.
I agree.
It doesn't do that, and so sometimes you have to go through and do that.
Yeah, and you're talking to a guy who loves Tusk. So not only do you have to listen to the Tusk remastered, you also have to listen to the original Tusk. So no, I totally feel your problem.
I love it, Clark.
Thank you to Luke for the super chat, the $4.20 super chat. Steve and Jason are back. Let's go. That is the main news. I guess it's not Spencer Strider because we have an actual show. We have White Sox news.
It's true.
Jason and Steve, we mentioned it yesterday that they were kind of up in the air, haven't been initially announced as returning in 2023, even though both of them said that they would be returning. And officially today, the White Sox announced on their Twitter that Jason Benetti will be back. He picked up his option.
Multi-year, I believe it said. Yeah.
Multi-year. And then Steve Stone was signed to an extension.
Also multi-year.
A multi-year extension. So could be 2, could be 3, could be 4. It's at least more than 1 because it's multi-year. Sorry, I just choked.
Could be 16 because he's starting his 16th anniversary. That's multi.
Could be 16. 16 more years for Steve Stone. He'll be his 56th anniversary. What do we make? Now is it just a sigh of relief that Jason and Steve are back?
Yeah, I call them, and I think, I'm biased, of course, the best TV booth in baseball because of the games are out of reach. The games are boring. Those two guys have such a banter with each other that they keep it entertaining for the viewer because they understand that it's not the baseball game that is necessarily needing to be entertaining. They themselves need to be entertaining to retain the viewers. Of course, me, you, and Vinnie have to watch those games throughout to give a good analysis after. But I don't mind watching the games when those two are on because they make it entertaining because they have such a good chemistry, a good relationship with each other. I think that is part and parcel because of both of them, because you see Jason Benetti do different things like football or basketball, and he has a good kinship with all of his partners. And same thing with Steve Stone. Like, he worked with Hawk, made Hawk, kind of mad. Hawk is Hawk. He worked with Harry Carey. He worked a season with Ed Farmer. Chip Carey. Every time he would work with somebody, especially when it was the Cubs, when I was a child, I was like, man, this analysis is just par excellence. And now with Jason Benetti, I think he brings him up to the highest levels, and he allows him to breathe and allows him to do the jobs that we know that Hawk Harrelson would not necessarily let him do, or not let him get Steve Stone and be Steve Stone. Like, Hawk would be himself, and then sometimes Hawk would leave the booth. I'll tell you what, I got to go down there and see if Todd Frazier's all right.
I'm going down there. You take over.
Go and take over for 7 innings. It's like, goodness gracious. But yes, I am
Dr. Hawk.
I am awesome. And it feels great to have these two guys back, because I was worried that they were going to have either one. Having both of them back is just godsend. It's going to make White Sox baseball that much more entertaining to watch on TV.
They do a phenomenal job. As Mazman says, they are funny, which is, I think, the number one requirement for a sports announcer. You got to make it fun because, listen, I know how seriously all you folks take your baseball. Remember, it's supposed to be fun. And so Jason and Steve do a very, very good job of that. Steve and me align musically as well. Steve Stone, fun fact, went to college with Joe Walsh, guitarist for the Eagles.
Really?
Wow.
Yes, Kent State University. So that was fun. But yes, they do a great job. And I think too, if you're someone who has watched games for both sides of town for your entire life, I remember when I was a kid and Steve was doing color commentary for the North Side team, and I was young, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't know much about baseball, and we got into it. My brother were watching with my dad, and my mom always says she learned baseball from listening to Steve Stone. Nice. And I just think that he is a citywide figure, not necessarily just he's either for the North Side team or for the South Side team. He is a Chicago baseball figure, and he does a phenomenal job. He deserves all the credit for being probably one of the best color commentators this town has ever had.
Yeah, I mean, he has to be the color commentator, as Steven spelled Jason wrong. There's no 2 O's in Jason. It's just one.
And nobody sees that yet.
Nobody sees it, but I'm just letting you know.
Throwing him under the bus, even though it didn't need to happen.
You did help me out.
You were about to publish that,
I
no?
probably would have seen it.
Okay, all right. Just wanted to make
but
sure.
Thank you.
I did want to follow up with Stone's music taste. Do you know what he likes?
The joke, the folks will know if you watch enough White Sox games. Steve always jokes that and Jason always joke that Steve has 5 songs that he likes, and he just listens to the same 5 songs over and over again, and they're all right in the wheelhouse. Bob Seger and all that kind of thing. So
yeah, I was always when we were doing intros for like guests and whatever. Stoney was always on Hit and Run with Spiegel, and I always used "Like a Stone" by Audio Slave. I don't think that's one of his 5 songs that he's
I'm
listening to.
I'm going to go ahead and say Stone Pony, not a fan of the band Audio Slave.
Do you think he's a fan of any of the bands the guys in Audio Slave are in?
Why wouldn't you just play the Rolling Stones? It's in the name.
That's true. I could have done Bob Dylan like a Rolling Stone, but like
could have done Muddy Waters, Rolling Stone, the original.
It's tough. I mean, like the reason why was just because it was a good bed. Like you get there's not a lot of good beds in Bob Dylan songs. Bob Dylan just kind of gets into it. Fight back on the Bob Dylan.
No, I'm gonna say these people are gonna be talking to you about Bob Dylan. It's like, oh, what about this Bob Dylan song? Yeah, it's a great bed. You're a youngster, 25. Shut up, type of thing. I used to use Earth, Wind, and Fire in the Stone.
Okay.
It was a great song for every time he come on with Lawrence Holmes. It was always a joy because him and Anthony Herron are 2 of my favorite guests in the score, because Lawrence would ask him a question. 7 minutes later, he would ask the second question.
And there you
perfect.
Go. And there it is.
It would be as a producer, perfect. Just like not short answers. all the answers are long, but they're not long-winded. You know what I mean? They're all in there. They're just very informative.
So you're going to say from the executive producer side, as the person who is cutting the interviews, it's the worst, because how do you chunk up this one answer that is 7 minutes and it is long and it is good and very detailed? How do you get the good bit out of that?
Show cut.
Stone.
That's what I would say. That's a show cut.
We're gonna long.
It's long, just in front of long show cut, 7 minutes.
You go with Roll Away the Stone, Mott the Hoople, Chip Away the Stone, Aerosmith. How about Let's Go Get Stoned, Ray Charles? Come on.
Yeah.
It goes on and on.
There's also a Booker T and MG's version of that one as well. With Earth, Wind, and Fire, though, local product, and Jason Benetti, local product. Just want to make sure I got those mentions.
Yeah.
Stefan Bardo, local product, said Sox PR smart for putting this out today. I'm not going to say that this wasn't my first reaction or first thought, was that, yeah, makes sense that this news was being pushed. And then there was something else that I saw that was thrown out there as well. I want to make sure.
We've made several announcements today, obviously.
Oh, it was
the non-roster invitees to spring training, and then, as I was just tweeting about here, some more international free agent signings as well. So plenty of there's
Vinnie
my
and
tweet
his
about
teenagers.
Venezuelan teenagers. Oh, God. Police are going to come through the door here.
Gordon Sumner? Sting?
Yeah, Sting will be here. Sting and yeah, the whole crew, they'll be here.
Is it, I mean, it's a lot of news on a Friday. Is it, I mean, we are only...
It's Thursday.
Oh, well, it's a Friday for us. But, I mean, we're about 30 days from spring training. I mean, we were talking yesterday about this whole Stone and Benetti thing.
We are much closer than 30 days to spring training.
That's what StatCast says.
They're talking about the game.
Okay, well then, I mean... People go to spring training for the games. They're not going for pitchers and catchers.
Not the players.
Not the players, but the players aren't watching this from what we know.
If I can count correctly, it's about 17 days till they report. If it's on...
It's 3 weeks from yesterday.
And as StatCast says, 29 days until spring training games.
There you go.
So my bad.
on,
so I mean, it's not that shocking that these deals have been announced. And even the 26-man that have been put out, like we knew about the Marisnik deal, the Alberto deal, the
Hamilton
team
never
deal.
Announced any of that,
right,
though.
but
And
now
so
it's
this
official.
is when they do that. Part of it is formality too. You know what I mean? Like you guys, you talk about knowing this for a very long time. Heck, remember the Andrew Benintendi news was out there almost a full month before it was announced, right? It's just because something is reported doesn't mean it's official. And also, just because something is reported and everybody knows it doesn't mean that the team doesn't still have to announce it.
Carlos Correa, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so these things do need to be officially announced by the team, even if to you and I and everyone talking about this, it's all been stuff that we've heard before.
Do you make anything of all this news coming out this week?
I would want to do a sinister thing. Oh, the Sox are trying to go tell people look over here instead of look over there. I just think, as Vinny said, they had to do these things anyway, so might as well just announce them. And while they have the announcements to be out there, I just sent a text to Jason Benetti. He's like, "Hey, congratulations." He's like, "Thanks, Herb." I don't think he, we're sweating it. Him or Steve Stone were sweating any of these things. We had talked about it yesterday, how it was weird it hadn't been announced. And I kind of was sweating about it because I was like, if they haven't announced it, there might be something out there where they're not coming back. But it's a sigh of relief that they are, and I don't think it's anything that the White Sox are trying to do a Friday dump or hey, look over here. Yeah. Don't be looking over here because we don't want you to look over here type of thing. Because there's nothing they can do.
And just going to the
way
the
Clevinger stuff.
Yeah, and with the way the tweet was phrased, I mean, it just seems like maybe they were waiting to get that deal done with Stoney. Like, I mean, the Jason part was an option, or what was it? It was an option, so they picked up his option. So I think maybe they were just waiting for Stoney to sign on that line before announcing the full package, right? Like, we don't want to be like, oh, Jason Benetti's coming back, but Steve Stone's still up in the air. Like, wait until the final thing is already in package. So I guess if I had a thought about how the deal happened or whatever, I think it would probably just be they picked up Benetti's option and they were just waiting on Stone. I don't think it's anything nefarious. It's just
great word.
They had to. Thank you. They had to. They had to announce this stuff at this time. It's just, again, an unfortunate week. There's never good news or a good time for, the MLB announcing the investigation into Mike Clevinger.
They didn't announce it.
Oh,
it was,
right. Well,
this all
reported
stemmed from
a story.
Right, but it all stemmed from social media. You know what I mean? Like, not only do you not have control over anything, had the woman not posted on social media, this might never have been reported until there was resolution to that investigation. So. when it comes down to timing, I mean, this is what news is. It's when people decide to share that information.
Yeah. So, I don't know how to transition out of these topics. Someone said too, it was like, I don't know. Anyways, I don't know what to say.
What's next? What's next on the docket?
Yeah, I guess we'll take an ad break here.
I can read Matthew
It is
Lucas's
420. Matthew Lucas said, my bad Sox mood just makes it seem hollow, but what do you have to do, 35th and Shields? Just hope I live long enough to be proud of the team eventually. And I 100% agree. The situation's very weird.
I think fandom is at not an all-time low. It's just at a low right now where people are just wanting something. And baseball games and the actual team winning baseball games, somebody said it cures all. I don't know if it cures all, but it makes people put their bad things in the back of their head. Keep it there because they know this team has a history of, not making their fans very happy. But all is needed is a good baseball, a good game. They see the team progressing, and that's going to be until April. You got to wait till March. The first game, I think, versus Jose Abreu and the Astros are the end of March. But we're right there, guys. So I feel the same way as you. Like, I am at a low point for my White Sox fandom, but some of the things can be cured by actual good baseball in 2023. And I think we might be there.
They were in the playoffs. They were in the playoffs just the year before last.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
all-time low?
No, I'm not an all-time. I'm at a very low point in my White Sox fandom. But other times before that, it was like they're just in second place. They were competing, and it felt good that they were battling versus the Cleveland Indians at the time in the 90s. And then when they won the World Series, I was like, man, that taste. I can't get that taste out of my mouth. I need that again. So that's what I've been on ever since then. So, yeah, this is a time where I'm like, they finished in 81 and 81 in a year they're supposed to compete. And so, yeah, I'm kind of sad. Sox Fest was canceled. All these things that were happening with the White Sox. It's not a good time to be a White Sox fan, but we can have a good season and things can be like, okay, we're back to normal. We're back to 2021. We're feeling great about ourselves.
I'm just saying, listen, do whatever you want. I'm just saying, it's not a good time to be a White Sox fan when they won the division the year before last.
No.
It's not a good time to be a White Sox fan.
I just think that especially when you're
some high standards, some really high standards.
Again, it's what they've expected and they set for themselves, and that's why when we've been talking about the upgrades the Sox need to make and raising the bar or keeping the bar where it is, it's like it's not beating the Cleveland Guardians and it's not beating the Minnesota Twins. It's beating the Astros. It's beating the Yankees, and it's because when they signed Grandal, they said that window was a 5-year or whatever year contention. That's what Kenny Williams said.
That's true when it comes to them meeting their goals that they've set for themselves. Can you not have fun if they don't win the World Series?
Yeah, that's 100%. Yeah. I had fun in 2021. I didn't think the season was a disappointment in 2021. I actually thought it was a great season. The 2022, of course, disappointment. If the White Sox this year go out and win the AL Central and get defeated in the first round, I'm going to be upset. Because, as Sean said, as Rick said, we're going to be competing for multiple championships, and you can't compete for multiple championships if you're not in the championship. Not even the AL championship or in the World Series.
But upset in terms of, oh, man, I'm upset that my favorite team lost their playoff series, or I'm upset this season was a total waste and I hated it.
Well, no, I think...
Because last year, listen, guys, I'm on board. Last year, they gave you a lot of reasons to be pulling your hair out every night. I understand. But, just in general, they're fine. They're not a bad team.
No,
right?
but so I think Greg sums it up well. You lost your leader in Jose Abreu, no Sox Fest, Liam's health news, which is a horrible update, and then you have the Clevinger news, and now you look at this team, and before the Clevinger news was released, it seemed like they really had a team set. And honestly, before the Liam news, like you had your closer, you had your left fielder, you had 5 pitchers. Now you've lost your closer, and we don't have a timeline for Liam. We don't know if he'll return in 2023. So that very important part of your team, you didn't even trade him. Like we were talking about trading Liam Hendricks before the news of his cancer diagnosis, or I forget the
diagnosis works.
Diagnosis. We're talking about, like, you're a division contender. Like, you can't trade away Liam Hendricks. Well, now you lost him to unfortunate reasons, and then the rotation goes from 4 guys to 5 guys. And, like, this rotation that was very iffy, that even Clevinger didn't solidify it, like, now he's possibly and likely gone. So it's just tough to now be like, this team is going to be contending in 2023 just because they've lost those two pieces.
We'll see. We'll see how it plays.
And then you have to deal with all the health issues that they've been dealing with in 2021 and 2022.
As I've mentioned many times, I just find the fan psychology aspect of some of this very interesting, and I'm always curious to learn more about it. That's all. I was just on our CHGO Sports podcast, and our subject today was curses, new curses that might be afflicting Chicago teams, and Luke and Kevin start out talking about, well, the Bears have been cursed since they won the Super Bowl in the mid-1980s. And I'm like, well, but they were in the Super Bowl one year. That's pretty good. That's not cursed. I remember that season. I had a blast watching that season. This whole championship or it sucks thing to me is very not the way I used to watch sports, and I'm very curious why so many people look at it that way.
I think right now it's less championship than or championship than
or it sucks
or sucks. I think it's just the fact that all of the unfortunate stuff that has happened and the way that they've tried to get to that championship. Connor says perspective. The team is probably favored to win the division 2023.
Nope,
Guardians are. That's not an all-time low.
What would you say?
Guardians.
You'd pick the Guardians
just by odds, our sponsor DraftKings.
I'm just saying, who would you predict today to win the AL Central?
The Guardians. They got better. The White Sox got worse. The Twins got better.
I think the White Sox on paper have the best roster of those three.
They have the best roster, but I think...
And trust me, we'll talk about all the ifs every day from now until probably after the season
starts. But the Guardians didn't lose anybody for the most part and added a good bat.
Sure.
The Twins added a premium... Well, it didn't add. They just
They brought back the same guy and then traded their best hitter.
And got a pitcher. And I think those two teams got better while the White Sox got worse because I'm still in the Jose Abreu thing. I think the man's going to have a quality year down there in Houston that he could have had up here. And we could have had all three of the guys that we kept on talking about with him, Vaughn, and Eloy Jimenez. So, yes, I think the White Sox, I am pessimistic right now. I am waiting for good baseball. I would love to be proven wrong. But right now I'm thinking the White Sox are a second or third place team as we currently speak on January 26th. By the way, the anniversary of the Bears winning the Super Bowl, I believe.
Yes. We tweeted out today on the CHGO Sports Twitter, the 5 Super Bowl records.
Well, I'm the only person who was alive from this 4.
I definitely wasn't.
Okay.
I was 4 years away.
Oh wow, Jesus, I'm old. I remember watching.
I was 11,
drinking some delicious Kool-Aid and some Swanson chicken nuggets. Watching on a screen that was half the size of the one we're looking at right now, probably like a 20-inch screen. Had a time of my life.
So, I mean, if I were just looking at the AL Central, I would say the odds are probably 35%, 33%, and 31%. And you could pick whatever team you want for that.
Sure.
I don't think that there's a clear team. I think the Guardians, you could probably favor them just because they did it.
They're coming off the best season, but every season is new.
I mean, you even look at the 2022 Sox, though, and that went 81 and 81. They now don't have a fifth starter. They lost their closer and they lost their best player.
Well, we don't know.
There's a lot of questions there.
Yet.
Yes, I would be surprised if Mike Clevinger ever pitched for the White Sox.
Me too.
So that's
but we don't know
remains
yet.
To be seen.
We don't. It remains to be seen. But I would just say that I think that it's tough to put stock into this team right now with those question marks, just because the Abreu one will be answered in the first month, but the other two, we don't know when we'll have resolutions on that. And I think, can we go back to Connor's point, just because I thought it was good? Perspective was his point.
That one.
The team is probably favored to win the division in 2023. That's not an all-time low. 2013, late 90s, all-time lows. Awful attendance, irrelevant in Chicago sports news. This team is relevant at worst. And I don't disagree that they're not relevant. They're not relevant or anything like that. But I look at the Blackhawks, and right now, even though they're the worst team in the NHL, this isn't the worst time in their franchise because they weren't even being broadcasted on TV, right? Yeah. I understand that this isn't the worst results the White Sox are getting. I understand that this isn't really the worst team they've ever put out, and this isn't the worst effort they've given. But I do think that just when their goal is we are trying to build a contender, and you have one season where you are the AL Central champions in the 3 years that you've been contenders.
So far.
Yeah. And I think that going into year 4, they're not clear favorites. We just said that, it's I just think that is a failure on their end. And I think that the way that, again.
Well, the test's not over yet.
It's not.
Last year was certainly a failure.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's also, and with Connor's point, those 2013 and the late 90s teams didn't have expectations.
Right.
I didn't like it's.
But isn't it better to have expectations than to not have them at all?
It is better to have expectations, but you're not close to them. And in this window we're in right now,
were they realistic? I mean, Rick Hahn said, "Ask me after the parade." Like
we shouldn't be in the spot where are we going to win the AL Central talk? It should be like you don't think the Astros are like, man, are we going to win the AL West? No. The Yankees are not like, are we going to win the AL East? They might say that because it's a tough division, but they're not worrying about the AL East. Same thing with teams anywhere else, like the Dodgers out in the NL West. The White Sox are still like, are we even going to be competing with the team that won the AL Central last year or the team that finished behind us in the AL Central last year? We shouldn't be in that spot right now. That's why it's a low point, because the expectations are so high and our team is a middling team. And so it's not necessarily because we have great stars or we have great performers on our team, and so we should be more hyped. It's because the expectations are through the roof, and they're not set by us. They were set by Rick Hahn saying, we're going to be competing for multiple championships, and they haven't done it yet. And it could happen this year. And if it happens this year, we're all like, yeah, hey, man. I mean, good job, Rick.
They haven't even competed for a pennant. Like, they haven't even won a round of the playoffs yet.
Absolutely.
So,
I'm just drawing the comparison between in 2020 and 2021, this team did something it had never done before. Right. It was good enough to make the playoffs 2 years in a row. Call 2020 whatever you will. I remember it happening. They were in the playoffs.
If they were.
Before that, they'd never done that before.
Right.
Never once ever. So you can say that
it's the golden age of White Sox baseball.
Shy of 2005, when they actually won the World Series, they had never had a 2-year span better than 2020 and 2021.
I think they've been in playoffs 11 times and 9 times during my lifetime. 8 times during my lifetime. That's tough.
There were only 3. Wait, before you were, what year were you born?
78.
8?
They won in 59. They went to the playoffs. No, they've been 4 times before that. So
59.
06, 17, 19, 59. 59 to 83 was no playoffs.
The Yankees were good.
Yes.
Got to remember, the Yankees were really, really good.
But that whole 40 years of not going to the playoffs is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like
that would seem to be an all-time low.
That's
versus now when they have a roster that could easily win the division.
Let me go ask Seamus McManus to see what he thinks. I was at the game in 23.
Were there only Irish folks around then? Is that what's happening?
I was at the game in 23. Those guys were bums. That's why we called them bums.
I think, though,
I don't want to talk that. 23 Skidoo.
I appreciate it.
Let's dance to Charleston.
I like 20s Herb. We need more of 20s Herb.
20s Herb is the best Herb.
The TV will never go anywhere. The radio's where it's at.
Would 20s Herb even know what a TV was?
No. Model T, garbage. What about walking? These kids.
I don't even know how he started on that.
20s Herb.
I mean, currently I'm 20s Herb too.
Yeah. 20s Herb is back.
What old modern or what old technology would you advocate for? Model T was out of fashion in 1920. What would you saying? What's out of fashion now? What's old man Herb saying?
I'm trying to think of what's new right now, and then I was like, this will never catch on.
Zune. Oh, you mean currently? It has to be currently.
Yeah, like 10 years ago. Yeah, TV. Well, we're going to be watching most of our TV on the internet. Hilarious. The cable's never going away. Payphones? That's where to call people. Collect.
Sheffield and is it Armitage? No, there's Webster. Sheffield and Webster in Lincoln Park. Yes. There is still a payphone.
Yeah, across from the ham place.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
The Jam and Ham.
Yep.
Yeah.
Should we go use it?
Yep.
No.
Okay.
Well, I would.
It's probably really dirty.
I would bring some bleach wipes, but
hey.
Did you ever call anybody collect, Sean?
No.
Okay. I remember. Oh my God, those commercials
all the time.
Every other commercial.
There's commercials for payphones?
In the in the 90s, every other commercial was for collect calling. There were like 8 different
10,
numbers
10, 2,
that
20.
you would, yeah.
What is
10,
collect
10, 3, 4, 5, you could win a prize.
Well, payphone, you had to pay to call your mom, whoever. Collect calling, they would pay. Your mom would pay. Whoever's receiving the call would pay.
It's like sending a telegram.
Yeah. So you would do this, and you like
It's like requesting on Venmo.
They would say, "What's your name?" It's like, "Mom, I'm at the movie theater. Pick me up," and click, and never let her pay for it. That's what you do. And when you were in prison, I was never there. I think that they would say, "There's a collect call from prisoner and inmate 54321."
Why was a robot on the other end of the line?
They're prisoners, and then you would choose to accept it or not.
It is sad and desolate in prison.
There, see, Dan knows. You always like, "Mom, come pick me up." There was no cell phones. Remember, Sean?
I do remember that. No, I do. I didn't know how it worked. I didn't know that you could force Mom to pay it.
Yeah.
And
she'd be pissed.
Thanks, Mom. How much was it to make a collect call?
Less than $1.
Yeah.
But
that was like $20 in the 90s.
Because of
inflation and there's some calculator out there, you can figure that out. We do want to take a break and let you know about Goose Island. They're the presenting sponsor of the CHGO, the Chicago Sports Podcast that Vinnie was just on with Kevin and Luke, and they are the sponsor of today's podcast as well. CHGO is supported by Goose Island Beer Company. They've been Chicago's beer since 1988. We talked about the Hawks earlier. They currently have a limited release Blackhawks Pale Ale. They have a limited release Bull City 312. Both of those teams played tonight. Maybe if you're picking a Bulls or Blackhawks game, you go over to Benny's and pick the Hawks and maybe watch the Bulls game. Maybe pick the Bulls beer and go watch the Hawks. Whatever floats.
Or
your
you can
boat.
mix and match.
You can mix and match. There you go. You can also get the Bourbon County Stout, the Christmas IPA, the Beer Hug series, which Curb currently has Cracked,
Beer Hug,
Green Line, and Matilda. What's your favorite beer out of the top right now? Are you enjoying the tropical ones?
It's the secret Beer Hug ones. The Beer Hug ones, I just get different ones. The tropical one is a little strong for my liking, but this is perfect. 6.8.
I think the other one's like 9.
Cody, the other day I did it on the air. I was like, woof.
Yeah, Cody was getting blasted.
I'm out here.
Doing the CHGO.
That's why I keep the water next to me, because I got to drive right home. But
and hey, we got an event coming up with Goose Island.
Yeah, one won't knock me out, though.
With the Blackhawks. The Hawks and the Coyotes will be taking place over at the United Center, and I think there's still a couple tickets left, and very, very limited left. So if you do want to join our Blackhawks takeover of the United Center, definitely make sure you check out allchgo.com. Diehards get 20% off, and that is on February 10th. Game ticket includes, the ticket includes a ticket to the game and a shirt. And it's a ride over, right, as well?
Yeah, and you get a free beer at the Goose Island section over the United Center as well.
Yes, and you guys will be watching it from the Goose Island section, very similar to what they're doing in the 500 section at the Sox Park, right? That's one of the kind of carved out like viewing areas that you can watch the game from at the UC. So a very cool spot to be hanging out watching the Hawks and Coyotes at the UC on February 10th. Goose Island's 2 locations are open and ready to welcome you. Grab a beer right from their innovative tanks at Goose Island Tap Room at 1800 West Fulton, or get a smash burger and fresh beer of the week at the original Clybourne Brewhouse at 1800 North Clybourne. For reservations and pickup, go to gooseisland.com/locations. Goose Island Beer Company, they are the best. Can you give me another honk just real quick while we're around here? Thank you. Pins and Aces is the official golf apparel partner of CHGO. We love our Pins and Aces gear and are getting tons of compliments on and off the course. Haven't been hitting the links recently. It just snowed in Chicago, but they are a family-owned golf and apparel business. Hey, we were talking about moving to Scottsdale. Herb said he'd never do it. You seem to be you moved to Arizona, Glendale?
Well, I'm not a Scottsdale guy, but the weather in Arizona is just lovely at this time of year. Once you get to July, that's a little bit of a problem, but yeah.
I saw it was 30 degrees
though.
the other
It's
day.
fine. It's hot, but you don't sweat.
It is hot.
Hilarious,
certainly.
Steven. You ever seen me?
Some people don't sweat, I guess.
Herb's sitting here sweating while it's snowing outside.
Yeah.
Pins and Aces is making amazing polos, hats, golf bags, and even our favorite beer sleeve, an innovative product that allows you to store 7 beers right inside your golf bag and keep your drinks cold the entire round. Check out pinsandaces.com and use code CHGO to receive 15% off your first order and get free shipping. That's pinsandaces.com. I know the haphazards or the hazards of sweating. Our guy Rick Camp used to during the summer walk from the train, and he would bring 2 shirts, one for the walk there and one for the walk home.
20-minute walk there from the Ogilvie Transportation Center. But I went out to Arizona, and yes, I get the dry heat thing, and I get what they're saying, but I still sweat. It's because it's hot as shit out there. Saul Bookman from our PHNX people, he said it was like 35 degrees the other day, and they were like all freezing and had to chisel out their their windows because they don't have snow scrapers, so they have to use like their Costco cards out there. No, I'm good.
My parents are there currently. It snowed just a couple hours north of where they're at.
Oh man.
Oh yeah,
It snows in Flagstaff all the
it'll
time.
snow in Arizona a lot. Yeah,
It hit
you always
20
see the Grand
degrees.
Canyon.
It hit 20 degrees, and like
Grand
I think the highest it hit was 50 degrees while they've been there. They've been there for over a week.
Oh,
Perfect.
They picked the wrong time to
Yes, they did.
Should have went to some place. Mexico
And
is warmer.
all their flights back canceled. Maybe they're coming home today. Maybe they're not.
Is what they do Southwest? Is that still an issue?
It was Southwest, yeah.
There you go. Hey, shouldn't have done
Are
that.
they a sponsor?
No.
Okay.
We do want to move on to the 26 players that are invited to White Sox spring training. The following players are free agents that the White Sox have agreed to minor league contracts with and have invited them to spring training. Relief pitcher Kenyon Middleton, Jesse Schultens as well, left-hander Nate Fisher, catcher Sebastian Rivero, infielders Hanser Alberto and Eric Gonzalez, and outfielders Billy Hamilton, Jake Marisnik, and Victor Reyes. And also 17 others from within the organization have received non-invites to the club's spring training camp in Glendale. Sean Burke, Declan Cronin, Edgar Navarro, Lane Ramsey are all right-handed pitchers along with Matthew Thompson. Left-handers Frazier Ellard, Samuel Peralta, and Andrew Perez. Catchers Adam Hackenberg and Evan Skog. Infielders Moises Castillo, Luis Mieses, Colton Montgomery, and Zach Remillard. And outfielders Yoki Cespedes, Oscar Colas, and Adam Hazley receive invites to Major League Camp from within the club's minor league system. With Colas, I want to start there. He's not on the 40-man. So we do know that, like, Lenin Sosa will be there. Jose Rodriguez will be there because they're on the 40-man. But
I believe Yolbert Sanchez is on the 40-man as well.
Yolbert Sanchez as well. So those guys will be there. Tanner Banks will be there because they were on the 40-man. What do we make of some of these names? Is Colas just going to be added, right before opening day if he wins the job? Is that basically right here? Like, if he doesn't look good in spring training, they could just not ever add him to the 40-man until he's ready, right?
Sure. I mean, yeah, I think the idea is you never force someone off the 40-man roster until you absolutely have to. And, you can obviously look at the 40-man roster and be like, well, Oscar Colas is better than that guy. Just get rid of him. But that means then that guy has the chance to leave the organization and go to another team. So, again, you want to make that move as calculated and strategically as possible. Oscar Colas is the odds-on favorite to win the everyday right field job right now based on what both Rick Hahn and Pedro Grifol have said throughout the winter. But he doesn't need to be on that 40-man roster until the opening day or the day before, something like that. So there's no need to be concerned over something like that. He'll get every chance, as Pedro Grifol says, to win that job, that starting job in right field.
Development's not linear, and so they don't know if Oscar Colas is going to take the jump up and is going to look good in spring training as he looked good last year in AA and AAA. So keep him off the 40-man, as Vinnie said. Like, it's just a formality. If he plays well enough in spring training and he shows enough to get the job right there in right field, he'll be added to the 40-man, and one of the lower players will be taken off and maybe DFA'd. And then if he doesn't, you can just keep him there, and if they want to do service time manipulation to him because he is a player that's never played in the major leagues, they can do that, have him down for a couple weeks, and then bring him up after a while, and then have people like Eloy Jimenez play right field, Gavin Sheets play right field, things like that. So I have no problem with him not being on the 40-man, and, it's not a real big-time thing right now. And so they have many options, and they don't know if Oscar Colas is going to be the guy that they project him to be right now. And so it's a good thing to have him fight for it, have him actually feel like, hey, I got to win this job, and have the people out there saying, like, hey, Eloy might be out in right field too, so if you won't watch your stuff, you might lose your job. It just might be Eloy in right field if you ain't up on your stuff in February and March.
More interestingly is Colson Montgomery being included on that list. I don't think anybody is necessarily surprised to see him there, but he's a guy who is not as far along as some of the other guys, that certainly not Colas and then guys that we've been talking about as well, other guys on that list who are very much fringe major league players depending on where the opportunity lies. But Colson Montgomery, they always say, getting to experience a big league camp is a good thing for these young guys. He is their highest rated prospect. He is a guy that very much factors into their future. And you see him being invited to big league spring training. He's going to get to be around all these big league players, and you would think that it would benefit him from a developmental standpoint.
And we saw, too, Cespedes was, ended up playing in Double-A, just like where Montgomery will likely start in 2023. And he was one of their better players, better performers in spring training, just with as many home runs as he was hitting.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun to see Colton Montgomery get as many reps as possible. And it is just more good experiences for Colton Montgomery, their top prospect, who I think currently sits at 39th at Baseball America's Top 100. Colas is at 89. We do have a sponsored segment today, and it is DraftKings Pick of the Week. And we're going to go to the MLB Futures market. If Oscar Colas makes this team, he's going to be one of the few rookies, AL rookies, that will be making a club at the start of the year. And I think that's why American League Rookie of the Year market, Oscar Colas at 22-1 odds is a fantastic bet for Rookie of the Year. Gunnar Henderson leads this market of the Orioles, Royce Lewis of the Twins at 6-1, Hunter Brown of the Astros at 7-1, Anthony Volpe 9-1 for the Yankees, Tristan Casas 9-1 for the Red Sox. I just don't think any of these guys have the top end talent that Colas does, and Colas might win a starting position. And there's a lot of guys there that are fighting for positions, might not be good enough.
He's older, too, than those guys.
He's old enough, too, yeah. Sitting at 25. So I think Colas is a fantastic bet there. And make sure you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Download the app today and use code CHGO when you sign up. Bet $5 now on the NFL and get $200 in free bets instantly. Let's get into some of these former major leaguers who are now on minor league deals but could possibly make the major league team. Kenyon Middleton, Jesse Schultens, Nate Fisher, Sebastian Rivero, Hanser Alberto, Eric Gonzalez, Billy Hamilton, Jake Marisnik, Victor Reyes. We've talked about some of these names before. Gonzalez, Fisher, Rivero, Schultens, and Middleton are new to this show. Any of those stick out to you? I mean, you excited for Eric Gonzalez? Eric with a K.
No, I don't think any of those guys are going to make the team. I mean, except for the ones, maybe Marisnik will make the team. One of those outfielders signed to a minor league contract might make the team. But I don't think any of those guys will make the team, and if they do, trouble. That means somebody got hurt. That means somebody's out for an extended period of time. So I wish them well. I hope they perform and they ball out. And, the team is pretty much set with their 26-man roster. And so unless they are just absolute beasts in spring training, I don't think they're going to make the team. And so I'm not going to put too much weight into those names. I've never really heard of most of those people.
Who's this catcher?
Sebastian Rivero?
Yeah. Because we've been talking about that backup catcher spot a lot lately.
We already got another Sebastian.
Yeah. He's
Two Sebastians.
fairly young.
Sebastian versus Sebastian.
Sebastian versus Sebastian. He's
Battle of the Crabs.
Seabass.
He's 24, has played 2 years before with the Royals, which is pretty good. I mean, we know Pedro, obviously a former catcher himself, and has had experience, obviously, seeing him as he's played about 34 games with Kansas City over the past 2 years. Not a high-regarded hitter, at least according to OPS Plus and the stats. In the majors, in the minors in 2021, at AAA in 42 games, he had an OPS of 699. Last year, he was in AA, played 42 games, and had an OPS of 704. He's just very young, so I don't know if he's had enough times and a time to really latch on anywhere. He hasn't really played over 50 games at any point at a spot in the past 2 years. So it's been an odd post-COVID stretch for Sebastian Rivero.
But maybe he's coming to camp as a guy who Pedro knows and who knows Pedro and can catch on quick and be able to maybe even tell Seby Zavala and even Yasmani Grandal, hey, this is what Pedro likes. This is what Pedro's expected. Or even if he doesn't tell those guys, Pedro can say, hey, go catch a bullpen, go catch Michael Kopech today, and he knows exactly what Pedro's looking for him to do.
The Sox are in a weird position, too, just because, they have Carlos Perez and they have Seby. And I think there is a possibility where Carlos Perez might be better than Seby. The issue is Seby's out of options. So if they do ever feel like Seby might need to be released from this team, Rivero at least allows Perez to come up, and then Rivero can step in at Charlotte and, hold down that fort. So, I mean, it just makes sense for depth, which is something that they need to fill out.
I mean, we've had this last year, the same problem where Zack Collins was pretty much out of options, and so the White Sox would have to either send him down and expose him to waivers, or trade him like they did to Toronto to get the great Reese. I don't know if they're going to do that for Carlos Perez. Catcher and backup catcher is a premium position now because of the new rules where you can only throw over 2 times to first base or wherever the person's at. The third time you got to pick him off or the guy's going to be going to second. So stolen bases is going to be at a premium this year, I believe, because of that rule. And so the catcher position is going to be more about defensive-minded, throwing out runners, making sure the base runners are staying at bay. I don't know if Carlos Perez is up to that task, but I know Seby has a more of a defensive-minded mindset in his upbringing from San Diego State through the White Sox system.
Yeah, and Seby's been very good at framing. He's about above average to average when it comes to arm and stuff. So, I mean, he'll be fine. It's just, we talked about BABIPs and Nicky Lopez's luck in 2021 and, how it led to a 5.9 WAR season, but it's because he had a BABIP over 340 and he hasn't even been over 280 since.
Where's Zack Collins at?
I don't know. We do have a super chat from Stupid Donkey if you want to look up where Zack Collins is at. I think he still might be a free agent. Who's the leader now that Jose is gone? We had this discussion back on Monday. I think it was a Monday mailbag. Was it yesterday?
Maybe it was Monday.
I think it was Monday because when you talked to Eloy, and Eloy mentioned, you asked him about leadership, and with Jose gone, like, who is the leader? And he just kind of said, not sure. I don't think there is a capital T-H-E leader. I don't think there's a the leader. I think there's leaders.
Yeah.
And it just figures out, like, who's going to be the other hitter leader, as we know Tim's one of them.
Yeah, what I was saying earlier this week, is very much like the different position groups, the different groups of people within the clubhouse have their own leaders. And Lance Lynn is talked about glowingly as a leader of the pitching staff, but then you got Liam Hendricks, who's a leader of the relief pitching staff. You got Tim Anderson, who's a leader for what he does for this team, both on and off the field. But Jose Abreu was the guy who very much mentored your Eloys and your Roberts and your Moncadas, guys that spoke his language, guys that had a similar cultural background to him. So, every different little group of people that you can arrange in any different way are going to have their own kinds of leaders. Pedro Grifol should be expected to be a leader for this team, but he's not a player. He can only go so far in certain areas. So, different guys are going to step up and do different things, and maybe there is no change from what there was last year. Yasmani Grandal could be a leader. Maybe we're talking about it being Grandal and Lynn and Liam and Tim and Lucas, and those are guys that are all here already. So, Jose did a very specific thing, but he did it very, very well, and it was very, very important. I think less so who's going to, that the White Sox have a quote-unquote leadership void. They just have a Jose Abreu void, and I'm wondering how the team, and specifically those guys that I mentioned, are going to react to not being without a leader, but being without Jose Abreu.
Well said, Vinny.
Okay. All right. Nothing else to add on.
Nothing else I can add to that.
I do just want to add a little bit more to Sebastian Rivero.
And by the way, Zack Collins is nowhere. He's a free agent. But I imagine him being signed like these players are being signed, former Major League players being signed to non-roster invitee only spring training somewhere. He still has a tool that the White Sox found draftable, 10th overall, where he gets on base. Maybe a fresh perspective with Toronto and Pittsburgh gave him something else. He's only 27 years old. Somebody's got to take a chance on Zack Collins.
He just doesn't get at bats. He doesn't. Nobody, the White Sox included, are giving him the opportunity for those numbers to even out over the length of time. I think when he was here as a backup, it was. Yeah, well, we saw when he played a full season of minor league baseball, his power numbers and his on-base numbers were off the charts. But the White Sox at the major league level never gave him that opportunity because they had Yasmani Grandal, they had James McCann before Yaz joined. There was no opportunity for Zack Collins to come up and show that he could do that. And so it was, fits and starts of him not necessarily hitting for a very high average in the limited opportunities that he was given. So he can't necessarily show off that skill set that he undoubtedly does have, because when he plays a full season, be it in the minors or college or wherever, those numbers are there.
Well, and he did flash a little bit in Toronto to start off the season. He was like their best hitter for like the first 5 games, and then he fell off.
What we call a small sample size there, Sean.
It was finished with an OPS plus a 92 in 26 games with Toronto. never made it back, then was released, picked up by Pittsburgh, and in 10 games with the Pirates, he had all the chances in the world with Pittsburgh, minus 46.
10 games?
10 games.
Mm-hmm.
Minus 46 OPS plus. He batted 0.40 with a slugging percentage of 0.40.
How many trips to the plate?
29.
29.
One hit.
See?
1 hit, 3 walks.
Yeah, it's just no opportunity.
We'll see what happens with him. Just to add on to Rivero, though, this is from MLB Trade Rumors. He sports an above-average 29% caught stealing rate, but has posted subpar framing marks in the minor per Baseball Perspectives. So, maybe that's something Pedro can still look to fix, and he is young. On the other names there, Eric Gonzalez is a shortstop. He's played with Cleveland before. He's been with Pittsburgh.
This is the guy who hit the ball, the rocket shot off of Lucas Giolito for the last out of his no-hitter.
Right. Oh, I didn't even realize that connection. Nice.
Yeah.
Way to add that color there. And hey, shout out to Jason Benetti, who lived up to that moment there. I mean, that's the other thing, Jason Benetti can do football, basketball, and baseball because he's always living up to the moment, right? He always delivers. He can have fun and entertain you during the 4th and 5th and 6th innings, but once it gets down to, bottom 9 or top 9, 2 outs, no hitter, he comes in and delivered on that.
And I thought that was going to be a segue to an ad.
Oh, it could be.
You were like, he always delivers in the moment. I'm like waiting for it. Like, what's he going to say?
Pizza Hut delivers.
No, I should take an ad break. We'll let you know about Chi-Town Cornhole. They don't deliver. They do. They ship anywhere and offer local pickups.
Boom.
Is that delivering, though? They
Yes. Yeah.
ship?
You don't have to go pick it up yourself.
That's true. Yeah. Chi-Town Custom Cornhole, the #1 cornhole provider for
delivered
Chicago.
some to PHNX.
There you go.
Delicious.
Well, I didn't know they did that.
Yeah, they have their new cornhole boards from Chi-Town Cornhole.
Nice. Chi-Town, but it goes to PHNX.
Hey, if we go down there, it's all Chicago people pretty much down there.
That's fair. The #1 cornhole provider for Chicago
down there. Luminati's, Portillo's. See,
I have been to the Portillo's in Mesa.
Does it work?
And it's Portillo's.
Same?
It's the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice. And they got the PHNX boards and everything.
It should not be at the top of your to-do list when you're in Arizona. You should go do some Arizona things.
Lou Malnati's.
Chicago will be Portillo's will be waiting for you back here.
Shout out. Now they're the partners of PHNX as well. So Chi-Town Custom Cornhole, the #1 cornhole provider for the Chicagoland era in Illinois since 2007. Their signature box style can be designed, digitally printed, covered in vinyl, and painted, and their cornhole boards come with built-in drink holders recessed in on the back, LED lights that light up the hole, and exterior handles for easy carrying, and handcrafted scorekeepers. You also get custom bags. PHNXers got the PHNX logo on their bags, and you can get them in black and white like they did.
If you're watching on YouTube
slick.
right now, you should see
That's great. Their little foam finger dude is a cactus.
Oh, I
That's
love it.
wonderful. That's wonderful.
And we have our foam finger hoodies, and they have their foam finger hoodies, and it's like the same thing. And I love our one, and I just want the PHNX one because it's a cactus. But our employee discount doesn't work on their website.
Really?
So, yeah.
You might need to send an email.
Yeah, I tried it.
I
I don't know. I feel like that's pushing the envelope a little bit. Can I get the employee discount for the other city? Anyways, veteran owned and operated. They can ship anywhere and offer local pickups. And Chi-Town Custom Cornhole specializes in corporate designs for your company's next marketing or social event, wedding gifts, and gifts for all occasions, especially for tailgaters and backyard barbecuers. So go check out their website, ChiTownCustomCornhole.com, and make sure to follow them on Instagram at Chi-Town Custom Cornhole Boards. Thank you very much for your sponsorship. Also got to let you know about DraftKings. There's 4 teams left, 2 conference championship games, and only a few more shots to win big on the NFL playoffs with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Counting down to Super Bowl 57, new customers can bet just $5 and get $200 in free bets instantly. And if you're not a new customer, you can feel the conference championship thrills with stepped-up same-game parlays. Take your shot at an even bigger NFL payout and boost your winnings. With each leg, you add up to 100%. Check out CHGO Bets Daily. Cody, our partner on CHGO Bets, had a plus 600 parlay in the Bengals and Chiefs game if you want to check out his play for that. We also gave you our sides and totals for those matchups on Sunday. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code CHGO. New customers can bet just $5 on the conference championship game and get $200 in free bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code CHGO. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. You did tweet about the 11 players that the White Sox signed to international deals. James Fox of Future Sox reported that the White Sox still have $1.5 million left in their international signing pool bonus, so they still might not be done signing some international free agents here. So we'll see what it
that can also be
turns out to.
traded. Am I wrong?
Yeah, that could be.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know if they... I don't know when the cutoff date is. That's the one thing. Because I knew they were announcing it around the 15th, no?
The cycle...
Or is that when
when the cycle ends, I guess?
the free agent cycle ends. I'm not sure.
I like the Venezuelan pipeline, but as Vinny said before the show, we got a pipeline. The Juan Uribe pipeline down there in Dominican.
If only someone had written about the Juan Uribe pipeline on allchgo.com.
There you go.
You could check it out.
He did. Allchgo.com. And you could see Juan Uribe Jr. and Juan Uribe prominently photoed.
Same picture.
Pictured in the thumbnail. The international signing period runs through the 15th. So it goes from Jan 15th to December 15th. So
they have a year.
So you have a whole year. So it just closes for the 15th of December to
give him a month to rest and then go right back at it, Marco Patti.
So we will see. That's it for the CHGO White Sox podcast. We'll be back on Sunday, but Vinny won't be. Make sure you bother him on Twitter at Vinnie Duber because it's his birthday. Happy birthday, Vinny!
On Sunday,
we're gonna give you the great gift. The gift
I did it. I lived to 33. Well, hold on, we got a couple of days. But knock on wood, definitely.
His Scottie Pippen year.
Scottie Pippen, yeah.
Well, the
Aaron Rowan year.
The thing that my dad said right away is that you really will. I really will celebrate 4 months after my birthday because then I'll be 33 and a third.
Oh, there you go. Nice.
Tree.
What's your 30? You got to figure out what's the. Maybe you can't figure out what's the 333rd day of 33, or are you going to figure out what's like the?
No, you just go. You would just go 4 months. So yeah, end of May, I'll be 33 and a third.
That's hopefully nice weather on that day, and you can just
Hopefully.
open up the windows and listen to records.
Will you watch the
play
movie?
some records. What?
Will you watch the movie?
Will I watch what movie?
Was that police
Files?
file?
Oh, Naked Gun.
Naked Gun.
No,
yeah.
that was a reference to
33 and
to a
third.
record.
Okay.
RPM, 33 and a third RPM. That's a record.
I thought it was 45.
That's a 45.
That's a 45. That's a single.
Okay.
Yeah, they're different.
33 is the bigger one, the full album.
Your album. Your long player, if you will.
How do I know this? Aren't you old? Didn't you have records?
I had records. Is there such thing as a 78?
There is. They're very old. Those are very old, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, and Cosmic Key says 33 was Jesus Christ year as well. So there you go.
I like how he says rest in peace.
Rest in peace. R.I.P. Sky Point.
Rest in peace, Jesus Christ.
That's Vinnie Duber. You can follow him on Twitter at Vinnie Duber. He's our CHGO White Sox beat writer.
But unlike Jesus Christ, I want Vinny to stay around here, not to die at 33.
Wow, thanks, Herb. Me too.
I hope he makes it to 34.
Me too.
It's Herb Lawrence.
It wasn't rooting against Jesus Christ. I wasn't around then.
Back when Jesus was around?
No, I wasn't back. I'm old, but not that old.
Okay. You were the closest one to Jesus, though. Out of the four on this podcast.
I think Lawrence is over there. He's kind of closer to Jesus
I
than
said
I
on
am.
the podcast.
Okay.
That's Herb Lawrence. You follow him on Twitter.
He's a Methuselah over there.
Oh boy, I'm just trying to end
Sorry,
the podcast.
Lawrence.
That's Herb Lawrence. You can follow him on Twitter at Eckerwell23. I'm Sean Anderson. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_W_Anderson. Thank you to Stephen Nicholas for producing the podcast. And just got to get out on this note. Chicago, we've already got the best coverage for your favorite teams. So get fitted in the best sports gear around. Foco's got you covered from Soldier Field to the front room, north or south side with hoodies, slippers, signs, and bobbleheads, and everything in between. Get decked out like DeMar with apparel from leaders in sports merch and collectibles. Foco, F-O-C-O. If you're looking for the perfect gift for the football fan in your life, Foco's got you covered with hoodies to fight that Lake Michigan breeze. Check out Foco.com, F-O-C-O.com, or click the link in the description below for all non-presale items. Use the promo code CHGO for 10% off.
Ken Hines says, happy birthday, Bob Uecker. 89, I believe he is.
There you go.
Oh, man, I watched the Miller Lite commercial earlier today. I must be in the front row.
What commercial? Miller Lite?
Miller Lite commercial.
Bob Uecker. It's like the most famous thing he's
Great
done
guess.
before Major League.
You guys are closer to Jesus Christ than I am. I did not remember the Bob Uecker Miller Lite commercials. That's going to do it for the CHGO White Sox podcast. We will talk to you on Monday at midnight for our podcast-only podcast, and we'll be back on Monday at 4 p.m. for the CHGO Live White Sox show. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and we'll talk to you later. Go Sox.